we made this gnarly tea. We grabbed like 7 flowers and we went back to his house, filled up the beer bong, and we each did half of it. Somehow I made it in there and back out of the store. And my buddy was on the floor in front of the store in the fetal position, just throwing up. The world was spinning and it was getting harder and harder for me to even just sit there. I knew I was going down to the floor. Well, I was going to be right there next to me. Forewarning, I'm not recommending you try this. This is a very dangerous thing. I wish I had never done it, and I'm lucky that I lived. So here we go. Here's a story about how I overdosed on Angel Trumpets and was strapped to a hospital bed for 2 days. Yo, what's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 2, Tales of a Predicate Felon. It's going to be a shorter story than the other ones. But before we get started, you can go ahead and like, subscribe, all that stuff. Give me a follow. Really helps support us. I'm a brand new channel, and I'm going to be uploading regularly, telling these stories about all this crazy stuff I've been through in my life. Sure to entertain you, inspire you, whatever the case may be. So let's get started. I'm at my buddy's house, who shall remain nameless. I'm not going to put him out there like that. But we're just hanging out, and it was like a weekend. We were going to go ride bikes to his girlfriend's house, who lived up the beach. I don't know, about a couple miles at the most. We didn't have any weed or anything. We wanted to get high. So we knew that there was a angel trumpet tree down the street. And we had done angel trumpets before, very, very little bit here and there. We tried the white ones before at that point, which I'll show you right here. Well, the tree we got them from this day, we went and picked some orange ones, which look like this, which are actually called devil's trumpets. We didn't know this at the time, but they're much more potent than the white ones that we had already tried. And going off the potency of the white ones that we had tried, we went ahead and we made this gnarly tea. We grabbed like 7 flowers and we went back to his house. It tasted so bad. It was so bad. Like, we weren't expecting it to taste nearly as bad. It had this like floral, perfumey, but at the same time, it like triggered your gag reflex. It was such a strong scent, and we just couldn't do it. So we were like adding sugar and like Kool-Aid packs and all this stuff to it, try to get it to where we could drink it because it was that bad. And finally, we're like, dude, just throw it in the beer bong, you know? Just throw it in the beer bong. That way it'll go straight down. You won't have to worry about it. So we did that. We split it up. We got this. Filled up the beer bong, and we each did half of it. And then we were hanging out for maybe another 10-15 minutes, not even. And I remember I was like messing around with the foosball table in his front yard, and I felt like the body high and starting to happen. I started feeling weird. So I was like, bro, we better go. If we're gonna ride bikes to your girl's house, you know, it's gonna take a good 20 minutes probably to ride bikes there. We should get going before we get too messed up, you know? So we left his house and headed towards his girlfriend's house. So we're riding bikes up A1A, up the beach, northbound. And about halfway there's like a main street that runs east and west with like stores on it and stuff. It's about halfway to his girl's house. And we make it about to that main street, and we're supposed to take a left on that street, and we're going to cut over to her house. Make it about halfway down that street, and the body high is getting so intense that it's getting hard to ride the bike. Like, I remember starting to say to my buddy, I was like, bro, I don't know how we're going to make it, bro. I'm starting to get real messed up feeling. So finally we get all the way down that main street, which is probably about half a mile, and then we cross it, and there's a shopping center across the street. And it's like a Bell's and a Publix in it. Anyway, we get in front of the Bell's, and there's a bench out front. Couldn't go any. We couldn't ride our bikes anymore from that point. The body high was so bad. I mean, my mouth was so dry. Like, you couldn't even swallow. I remember going inside the Bell's trying to find the water fountain. And I don't know if you've ever seen, like, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, where they're walking to the hotel after they just upped the ether. And they're, like, walking like this and stuff. That's how I was walking. And my buddy didn't go in the store with me. I remember that. And I came back out. Finally, somehow I made it in there and back out of the store. And my buddy was on the floor in front of the store in the fetal position, just throwing up out of the side of his mouth. And that's the last thing. I sat on the bench, and I remember my head was in my hands, and the world was spinning, and it was getting harder and harder for me to even just sit there. I knew I was going down to the floor. Well, I was going to be right there next to it was coming to that. And next thing I know, I was in an ambulance. This is the last thing I really remember is I was able to tell the EMT, I was able to tell him like my name and what we had ingested and like where I lived and my phone number and stuff. Then I blacked out. I'm doing this thing in chunks because it makes my heart start pounding or calling all this crazy stuff. Like I don't think about this stuff too often. I really don't remember too much, but I was told by my family members and stuff. So I guess they're trying to strap us to hospital beds. When I first got there, my dad somehow ended up, he was there and he's helping him strap me to the bed. I don't remember any of this. Apparently I kicked my own father in the balls while they were trying to strap me down. Finally they got us strapped down to beds, and they pumped our stomachs several times. They had to use the paddles on us. Luckily we both pulled through. I remember other thing vaguely that I remember when I was in my blackout. I got like bits and pieces of memory. I remember my mom when she first walked in and she saw me and she goes, "What is wrong? Look at you. Oh my God." You know how mother would be. She was just appalled. And I remember seeing and thinking that she was my friend, George. I'm not going to say his last name, but I remember thinking she was my friend. And I was in my mind, I was like, why are you at, dude, George, what's wrong with you, dude? Why are you acting like this is a pussy? I lived that to my mother. It's great. So this drug, all right, it's not your normal run-of-the-mill like LSD hallucinogen. Like when you take high doses of it, like we did, your reality completely shifts. Like the walls of the room you're in will drop down, and you'll be outside at your friend's house in the backyard, hitting a bong, shooting shit, hanging out. It's that real. It's that vivid. It's nuts. I've never experienced anything like it in my life. All right, so we're strapped to hospital beds, and my memory starts coming back. They end up unstrapping me because I was a little less aggressive. I was coming to my senses, I guess, and being more docile than my buddy was. And I remember looking out the window and asking whose boat we were on, because there's like we were on like third story of a hospital. You know how like top of buildings they have those little antennas with the red lights on top of them, they're blinking. So I was looking out the window of this hospital room and seeing this fucking red light going like this, bobbing, because I'm tripping my balls off, and I'm thinking we're on a boat. I'm like, whose boat is this? And I was yelling, screaming for, where's the bubble machine? I was asking for my Christmas presents. I was like, give me my Christmas presents, I want to open them. I was they kept on taking the EKG things. I kept taking them off of my chest because in my mind I kept seeing them on my chest and thinking they were peppermints. I was taking them on my chest. I kept trying to eat them, and then I'd spit them out. This shit was nuts, man. And look, I'm laughing, but the truth is I'm lucky I survived, because we ended up in there for 2 days, 2.5 days. They finally released us, and dude, I was not right for a whole nother week probably. I mean, I was looking at my science book when we went back to school. This was a Christmas break, I think this happened. When we went back to school a week after this happened, I remember seeing the fucking text on my textbook was choo-choo training off the page, just watching the words tangibly go off the page and make a pile of letters on my desk. Same thing was happening in the hospital. There's a clock right in front of me that I was looking at, and I could see the numbers on it. And they were all moving around the clock. You could see them perfectly. Then they went off the clock and down the clock in a line. The numbers of the clock made a pile of numbers on the floor. And it's back to normal. We were both lucky we lived, and that's the truth of it. It was very scary. I remember sitting there. I remember the walls dropping down and being in my friend's backyard, just like I was telling you can happen earlier. And we were sitting there smoking a bong. And I started yelling at the nurse in the room, and because I thought she was my friend in the backyard that was trying to light the bong for me and do it for me, but she was really just a nurse trying to give me some water. And I'm yelling at her, and I said, "Miles, what's the matter? Why are you? This bitch won't let me hit my own bong." And dude, just that realistic, it's crazy. And so anyway, that's the story. Here I am, made it through. Angel trumpets are bad. Don't do them. Stick to the real stuff. Actually, don't even do that. Drugs are bad, okay?